It happens each and every business day. In thousands of Canadian companies and boardrooms, someone asks a simple question. What do you think this company is worth? Why it gets asked is as varied as there are businesses and owners. Merger, shareholder dispute, acquisition, succession, refinancing, public reporting. So many angles, but probably only one right answer when it comes to value. And there's only one profession in Canada that is specifically trained to ensure that number holds up under the toughest scrutiny.
I have had the feeling over the last, I would say, year or so that there has been a change. One thing we know is that we don't know what's going to happen.
It's very difficult to predict the future when we see what's coming on, all the threats, all the product life cycles.
Productivity is a big one, innovation, and it's certainly something that's being discussed a lot in Canada of late. And in order to stay relevant, you need innovative products and offerings or services. You've got to be unique, you've got to differentiate, and I think that those would probably be the biggest challenges.
Number one would be looking backwards instead of forwards. Value very much is based on what the future holds rather than what happened yesterday. Two would be using rough and tumble metrics and rules of thumb in assessing value. The back of the napkin valuations as opposed to properly prepared rigorous analysis would be a big challenge.
Without the discipline of the buyers in the market, nurturing your value, directing your value, you have to always think about what will somebody actually pay for this. Never mind what I think it's worth, but what will somebody actually pay? And there's often a delta. And when you understand the industry and you understand who those buyers are, that's when you truly come up with a proper valuation.
I think people who should have done succession planning 5 years ago didn't. They didn't address it for whatever the relevant reason it may have been. The markets expected to see it and it didn't happen. When the economic downturn happened, I think people really realized I should have taken care of that before this happened, and perhaps feel a little bit stuck. All of a sudden their investment maybe isn't worth as much as they'd hoped. There aren't as many potential buyers in the market to take the business off their hands. So divesting becomes a little bit more remote for them. I think people will look at that now, or I hope people will look at that now and say, well, perhaps I am going to end up in this business for another 5 years, but really I should start planning now for that 5 years.
So I think as the world gets more and more complex, more and more derivatives on people's balance sheets, more and more complicated swap arrangements, doing your own valuation, I think, is becoming more and more difficult to do and more likely to end up with a mess on your hands.
In many ways, we're business advisors, we're counselors, we're helping people. We're not only telling people what their businesses may be worth, but in some ways we're helping them understand what makes their business more valuable. What is the market looking for? What does somebody want to buy? And so when we have a chance to talk to our clients in the earlier stages, where they're really in the early stage of contemplating a transaction, we have the ability to assist them in either transitioning in a business from an owner business to a management team business and getting the value of the business in those assets that they're eventually going to sell.
And I think what CVB's helped do is help bring you in line with the market. Not necessarily from your perspective as a seller, but what a buyer might think. And you get that buyer's perspective.
A lot of us in the business valuation profession work in loss claims. So loss claims can be for litigation when two companies are fighting each other. They're usually fighting over money, and someone needs to figure out how much money they should be fighting over.
Chartered business valuators see transactions and value businesses every day, 7 days a week in some cases, hopefully only 5 days a week. So we come at it from a perspective of first experience, but also a technical training that no other professional has.
When we value a business, we dissect it into its component parts. We take a look at the management, we take a look at the employees, the number of people on the payroll, we look at management compensation, we look at the age of the assets, we analyze the cost of capital, we look at the historical earnings, we look at the market, where the market's going, and then once we do that, it's like Humpty Dumpty, you put it all back together again.
Value is what you get, and price is what you pay for it. And that really is what the work of the evaluator is about.
We often give a different perspective to people when they're looking at their own company, because a lot of times, let's face it, somebody that's built their company from the ground, it's their baby. They've nurtured it, and there are not very many people that are going to say that their baby is ugly. Okay, so their baby is perfect. And so sometimes we'll very delicately raise certain issues and say what are parts of the company that might need a little bit of work.
A solution is a way to move on and concentrate on what the business wants to do, which is make widgets, make money, focus on its primary goal.
The things you need to do today: number one, understand the value drivers of your business. Number two, strengthen your management team. You need to make yourself redundant. Number three, think about who the buyer of your business will ultimately be and what will they want to see when it's time to sell your business. And number four, surround yourself with good advisors, including a solid CBV transaction advisor to help you through the journey.
Regardless of where you are in that journey, buying or selling a business, settling a dispute, or contemplating the future, and getting your assets on a path to their full potential, talking to a chartered business valuator today is your next best move. Be the one who's certain.